Introduction. On the plains of Kurukshetra, in the heart of ancient India, unfolds a scene that will forever change the face of spirituality. The Bhagavadgita, a dialogue occurring on the eve of one of the greatest battles in human history, serves not only as a spiritual, but also as a philosophical guidepost. Two protagonists, Arjuna and his charioteer Krishna, stand on their chariot facing the approaching armies. In this uncertain moment, as warriors on both sides prepare for combat, Arjuna experiences a profound crisis. Filled with doubt, Arjuna turns to Krishna, a god, a guide, and in this scene, also his charioteer. He asks Krishna to halt the chariot between the approaching armies so he can see the faces of those he is about to fight. Arjuna's gaze falls upon familiar faces, family, friends, teachers. In the heart of the battlefield, torn between duty and love for his kin, Arjuna turns to Krishna for guidance. Krishna's response, rich in spiritual and ethical wisdom, forms the core of the Bhagavad-Gita. In the ensuing verses on the same chariot, Krishna reveals the secrets of spiritual life, disclosing to Arjuna the paths of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. He imparts knowledge about the eternal nature of the soul, the importance of action without attachment to results, and the necessity of fulfilling one's Dharma. The Bhagavad-Gita is an integral part of the larger epic, the Mahabharata, which narrates the history of the Bharata dynasty and the great conflict that ultimately leads to the battle at Kurukshetra. The introduction to the Bhagavad-Gita transports us to the battlefield of Kurukshetra, where each word of Krishna resonates with the profound dilemmas of human existence. It is here, on the chariot in the shadow of the impending battle, that one of the most significant philosophical and spiritual dialogues in world literature takes place. Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, we have resolved to commit a great sin by killing our relatives out of a desire for power. It would be better for me to lay down my weapons and be killed by the armed sons of King Dhritarashtra." Having spoken these words, Arjuna, with his mind overwhelmed by sorrow, set aside his bow and arrows and sat down defenseless on his chariot. Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna immersed in yoga, carefully perform your duties without attachment, remaining unaffected by success or failure. This steadiness and peace of mind is called yoga, devotion. Practice devotion, for attaining devotion is the skill of action. True peace of mind is attained by one who, having renounced all desires, acts freely, free from longing for pleasure, from fluctuating emotions and pride. This is the divine state." Mahabharata, Bhishma Parva, Section 15 and 16. First narrative. Arjuna refuses to fight his relatives due to sorrow and doubt. King Dhritarashtra said, "Sanjaya, tell me what my sons and the sons of Pandu did when they gathered for battle on the sacred fields of Kurukshetra." Sanjaya replied, "O king, your son Duryodhana, seeing the Pandava army ready for battle, approached the Brahmin Drona and said, 'O teacher, behold this mighty army of the Pandavas, organized by your disciple Drishtadyumna. Among them are brave archers comparable to Bhima and Arjuna. However, our warriors like Bhishma, Karna, and Kripa are invincible. We also have Ashwatthama, Vikarna, Saumadatta, and Jayadratha, along with many other heroes ready to lay down their lives for my cause. Our army, led by Bhishma, is stronger than the Pandava army led by Bhima. Go to the forefront of your troops and protect Bhishma together." When Duryodhana finished speaking, the valiant Bhishma blew his conch shell, boosting his courage. Other conches, horns, drums, and cymbals responded, creating a great clamor. The Pandavas also responded to this sound. Krishna blew his conch, Panchajanya, and Arjuna his Devadatta. Bhima blew his Pandra, Yudhishthira his Anantavijaya, and Nakula and Sahadeva their Sukhosa and Manipushpaka. Other warriors, such as Shikandin, Drishtadyumna, Satyaki, King Virata and Drupada, along with the sons of Draupadi and Subhadra, also blew their conches. The hearts of your sons trembled at the sound of their conches. As the first missiles began to fall, Arjuna lifted his bow and said to Krishna, "O Krishna, lead my chariot between the armies so I can see those who are so eager for battle and whom I will have to fight. I want to see who has gathered here to fulfill Duryodhana's wish, the son of Dhritarashtra." Krishna drove the horses and stopped the chariot between the two armies in sight of Bhishma, Drona, and other commanders, saying, "O Arjuna, behold all the Kurus gathered here." When Arjuna saw his relatives, friends, and teachers ready to fight, he felt immense sorrow and said to Krishna, "O Krishna, seeing my loved ones ready for battle to the death, my legs give way beneath me, my mouth dries up, I tremble all over, and my hair stands on end. My skin burns and Gandiva slips from my hands. I cannot stand, and my mind is reeling. I see ominous signs everywhere. I desire neither victory nor power nor pleasure. What good are they to us when those for whom we desire them, our fathers, grandfathers, friends, and relatives, are ready to give their lives on this battlefield? Though they want to kill me, I do not wish to kill them, even for the conquest of the three worlds, let alone for ruling the earth. What satisfaction can the killing of Dhritarashtra's sons bring us? Killing them would be a sin, even though they regard us as enemies. We must not kill our relatives. Their death will not bring us contentment. Even if they, blinded by envy, do not see the evil in destroying the family and the sin of fratricidal war, we who see this evil should refrain from committing it. When the family is destroyed, its ancient customs perish, and with them, the entire family is overcome by sin. The predominance of sin corrupts women, leading to caste mixing, bringing hell to those who destroyed the family and to the entire family. When rice and water rituals cease, ancestors fall from heaven to earth. Due to the sins of family destroyers, caste duties and eternal family rights perish, and people who have lost their family customs live in hell. O Krishna, we commit a great sin by killing our relatives out of a desire for power. It is better to lay down my weapons and let the armed sons of Dhritarashtra kill me." After these words, Arjuna, overwhelmed by sorrow, set down his bow and arrows and sat defenseless in his chariot. Second narrative. Overwhelmed by sorrow and uncertainty, Arjuna asks Krishna for advice. Lord Krishna, seeing Arjuna plunged into sorrow and doubt with eyes full of tears, said, "O Arjuna, where has this doubt come from at this critical moment? It is unworthy of a noble person, closes the path to heaven, and leads to loss of honor. Do not succumb to this impotence, as it does not suit you. Purge your heart of this weakness and take up your weapon." Arjuna replied, "O Krishna, how can I attack Bhishma and Drona, who deserve my reverence? I would rather be a beggar than kill these great-souled men. They are my teachers, and killing them, even if they are envious of our goods, would taint every pleasure with their blood. I do not know what is better, to defeat the Kauravas or to be defeated by them. If we kill them, our lives will lose meaning. O Krishna, my nature is stained with compassion, and my mind is uncertain about my duty. Tell me what is better. I am your disciple. Instruct me, for I seek help from you. I see nothing that could dispel my sorrow, even if I were to gain a prosperous kingdom on earth or the sovereignty of the gods." Sanjaya continued, "O king," Arjuna said further, "O Krishna, I will not fight," and fell silent, defeated by doubt. Third narrative. Krishna explains that peace of mind is disturbed by the senses, but the soul is eternal. Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, you grieve over what is not deserving of grief, though you speak words of wisdom. The truly wise do not mourn the dead or the living. There never was a time when I, you, or all these kings did not exist, nor will there ever be a time when we cease to exist. The soul dwelling in the body passes through childhood, youth, and old age, then discards the old body and takes on a new one. A wise person is not deluded by this. The contact of the senses with sense objects produces sensations of heat, cold, pleasure, or pain, which are transient and fleeting. Learn to endure them. A person whose mind remains unaffected by these sensations, who remains the same in pain and pleasure, is on the path to liberation from the bondage of matter and attaining eternal life. What does not exist cannot come into being, and what exists cannot cease to be. This conclusion has long been accepted by the seers of truth. What pervades everything is indestructible, and no one can destroy this unchanging soul. The bodies that the soul inhabits have an end, but the soul is eternal and indestructible. O Arjuna, take up your bow and fight. Whoever thinks the soul kills or is killed does not see truly, for the soul does not kill and is not killed. It never is born and never dies. It is unborn, eternal, unchanging, and primordial. It is not killed when the body is killed. How can one who knows the soul as indestructible, eternal, unborn, and unchanging kill or cause it to be killed? As a person discards worn-out clothes and puts on new ones, so the soul discards worn-out bodies and assumes new ones. Weapons do not cut it. Fire does not burn it. Water does not drown it. Wind does not dry it. It cannot be cut, burned, drowned, or dried. It is eternal, all-pervading, unchanging, immovable, and always the same. It is unmanifest and inconceivable. O Arjuna, knowing the soul as such, you should not grieve. Even if you think the soul is always born and always dies, you should not grieve. For one who is born will surely die, and one who dies will surely be born. Therefore you should not mourn what is inevitable. All being before birth is unmanifest. It remains manifest only between birth and death. After death, it again becomes unmanifest. What is there to grieve about? Some look at the soul as a wonder, some speak of it as a wonder, others hear of it as a wonder. Yet even then, no one can fully understand it. The soul dwelling in every body is eternal and cannot be killed. Therefore, you should not mourn any living being. Fourth narrative. Krishna teaches Arjuna to free himself from uncertainty by focusing on duty. Lord Krishna continued, O Arjuna, do not hesitate in your actions, considering your duties. For a warrior, nothing is better than the necessity of fighting on the battlefield. Blessed is the warrior who must fight, for the battle leads him directly to heaven. If, however, you do not take up the challenge and perform your duty, you will lose your good reputation and commit a sin. People will never forget your disgrace, and for one who has enjoyed respect, dishonor is worse than death. All the great warriors will think you refrained from fighting out of fear, and those who previously held you in high esteem will begin to despise you. Your enemies will mock your cowardice, speaking many harsh words against you. Can there be anything more painful? Rise then and take up the fight. If you die with a weapon in your hand, you will attain heaven, and if you win, you will rule the entire earth. Engage in battle for the sake of the battle itself, treating alike pleasure and pain, gain and loss, victory and defeat. In this way, you will not sin. I have described to you the wisdom taught by the Sankhya system. Fifth narrative. Krishna teaches about practicing yoga and calming the mind through concentration. Lord Krishna continued, O Arjuna, now listen to the wisdom of practicing yoga. By mastering it, you will free yourself from the bonds of action, karma. Unlike the rituals described in the Vedas, in the practice of yoga, every effort counts, and even the first attempt is not wasted. Nothing hinders its completion, unlike rituals, which face many obstacles. Even a little of this piety frees one from great fear. On the path of yoga, liberation from the bonds of action is ensured by a single state of mind, consisting of unwavering devotion to one object. Minds that are not focused on one goal are scattered and restless, attached to endless pursuits. The ignorant, delighting in the letter of the Vedas, speak flowery words, claiming that nothing else exists. Driven by desire, they seek to attain heaven and find ritualistic ways to gain power and pleasure. Their convoluted ritualistic language brings only the fruit of action. Obsessed with the pursuit of power and pleasure, with minds lost in words, they cannot find in the contemplation of divine being the sole means of liberation. The Vedas concern actions of the three qualities of nature. Free yourself from these qualities. Free yourself from the pairs of opposites, such as pleasure and pain, heat and cold. Be always focused, not worrying about new acquisitions or the protection of what has already been gained, and be established in the self. Just as all the objects provided by a cistern or well are also found in the vast encompassing sheet of water, so all the objects provided by the Vedas are possessed by the Brahmin who has transcended the Vedas and gained knowledge of the self and Brahman. Sixth narrative. Krishna urges Arjuna to act with devotion without thinking about the fruit of action. Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, care about the action itself, not about its fruit. Do not let the fruit be the motive of your action. Do not incline towards inaction either. Immersed in yoga, carefully perform your actions, unattached to them, and remain unaffected both in success and failure." This steadiness and peace of mind is called devotion, yoga. Action is inferior to devotion, concentration of thoughts on one object. Therefore, seek refuge in devotion. Those who act with the thought of the fruit of action are miserable. One who has trained his mind, attained devotion, frees himself even in this world from both the good and bad effects of action. Practice devotion, for attaining devotion is the skill of action. A sage who has attained devotion renounces the fruit born of action, and free from the necessity of rebirth, reaches the region free from sorrow. When your mind transcends the maze of illusion, you will gain indifference to what you have heard and what you may yet hear. When your mind, now distracted by what you have heard about the means of acquiring various objects of life, becomes firmly and unchangeably focused on contemplation, then you will attain devotion, yoga. Seventh narrative. Krishna describes a person with a calm mind. Arjuna asked, "O Krishna, what indicates that someone's mind is focused on contemplation? How does such a person speak, sit, move?" Lord Krishna replied, "O Arjuna, one who has cleansed his heart of all desires and remains content with his own self is called a sage with a calm mind. One whose mind remains undisturbed in moments of difficulty, who does not long for pleasure, is free from attachment to material objects, free from fear and anger, is called a sage with a calm mind. One who has subdued his feelings and neither rejoices nor feels aversion when receiving various pleasant and unpleasant objects is called a sage with a calm mind." Eighth narrative. Krishna teaches that to achieve peace of mind, one must not only control the senses, but also focus all thoughts on the Supreme. Lord Krishna said, "One who withdraws his senses from sense objects, like a tortoise withdrawing into its shell, is on the right path to achieving peace of mind. Sense objects withdraw from the abstinent when not fed, but the desire for these objects remains. Even it leaves the one who sees the Supreme. Agitated senses can overpower even a sage's mind, who strives hard to keep away from them. Therefore, after subduing them, one should remain in contemplation, focusing all thoughts on me, the Supreme Self, and seeking refuge in me. Thinking of sense objects gives rise to attachment to them. From attachment springs anger. From anger comes delusion. From delusion, loss of memory. From loss of memory, loss of understanding. And losing understanding, a person is ruined. However, a person who keeps his mind under control, moving freely among sense objects, controlling his senses, free from both attachment to them and aversion, attains true peace. When he achieves peace, his suffering ends, for the mind of one whose heart is peaceful becomes steady. One who does not keep his mind under control does not attain contemplation of his self, and one who does not contemplate the self does not attain true peace. And how can one who has not achieved peace of mind find happiness? The heart that follows the senses, moving through their objects, disorients understanding as a hurricane wind disorients a boat sailing on the ocean. Ninth narrative. Krishna teaches that perfect peace of mind is a divine state. Lord Krishna continued, "O Arjuna, perfect peace of mind is achieved by one who controls his senses, withdrawing them from sense objects. What is night for all beings is day for such a concentrated soul, and what is day for all beings is night for the sage who truly sees. True peace of mind is attained by one into whom all desires flow like waters into the ocean, which, although constantly filled anew, remains unchanged. It is attained by one who, having renounced all objects of desire, acts freely, being free from longing for pleasure, from fluctuating emotions and pride. This is the divine state. One who has achieved it never succumbs to illusion. One who dwells in it at the moment of death is absorbed by the Supreme Self." Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, offer me all your actions, perform them for me, and with a mind focused on the Supreme Self, engage in battle free from desires and egotism, having dispelled all the weaknesses of your heart. People who follow my advice with full faith and without doubt diligently liberate themselves from the bonds of action, karma. However, those who question it and do not follow it are devoid of all knowledge and are lost. O Arjuna, a yogi surpasses both the ascetic who engages in austerities and the man of knowledge and those who perform rituals. Therefore be a yogi. And among yogis, I consider the one who worships me with full devotion in his inner self and honors me as the most united with me." Mahabharata, Bhishma Parva, sections 27 to 30. 10th narrative. Krishna explains what action with devotion, karma yoga, is. Krishna speaks of two paths to attain the liberation of the soul through knowledge and action. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, since dwelling in the self is superior to action, why do you urge me to take up arms and kill my relatives? Your ambiguous words confuse my understanding. Tell me clearly how I should accomplish what is good." Lord Krishna replied, "O Arjuna, there are two paths leading to the liberation of the soul. One is acquiring knowledge through philosophical speculation, as taught by the Sankhya system, and the other is action with devotion, that is, offering me, the Supreme Personality of God, all your actions. For a contemplative person, knowledge is appropriate, and for a person of action, karma yoga is appropriate. Discipline of action. Man is compelled to act by the qualities of material nature and cannot cease actions, but he should perform them with a mind free from sense objects, treating them as an offering. Man does not free himself from action, karma, by not performing it or by general abstention. No one can remain even for a moment without action, being involuntarily driven to action by the qualities of material nature. One who controls his organs of action, yet mentally indulges in sense objects, is a hypocrite. He is surpassed by one who, controlling his senses with the mind, engages the appropriate organs in action and is unattached to its fruits. O Arjuna, always perform your assigned actions, for action is better than inaction. Without action, one cannot even maintain one's body. This world is bound by actions that are not performed as an offering. Therefore, perform your actions treating them as an offering, without attachment to their fruits. The greatness of the gift of sacrifice. In ancient times, when the Lord of creation created man and sacrifice, he said, "Grow by sacrifice. Let it be your provider of all the objects you desire. By its means, strengthen the strength of the gods, and the gods will strengthen your strength. United by sacrifice, the gods will grant you every pleasure you desire. One who enjoys the received good alone without reciprocating for what he has received, is a thief. Good people who feed on what remains of the sacrifice free themselves from sins, but the wicked, who prepare meals solely for themselves, eat sin. Turning the wheel of life by fulfilling duties in the spirit of sacrifice. Lord Krishna continued, "O Arjuna, all living beings live thanks to food. Food is produced by rain. Rain is the result of sacrifice, and sacrifice is the result of performing work described in the Vedas. Sacrificial action, performed for the first time by the gods, originates from the Vedas, and the Vedas come from the Supreme Personality of God. Thus, all sacrificial action is always centered around the Supreme Self. One who indulges his senses and does not help the world by fulfilling his duties lives in emptiness and leads a sinful life. Even a person who has united with the Supreme Self, deriving joy solely from the Self, is satisfied in the Self, and is not interested in anything in this world that can be achieved by actions he has performed or could achieve by actions he has not performed. He performs his duties without caring about their fruits." The duty of liberated souls. Lord Krishna continued, "O Arjuna, always perform actions that should be performed, unattached to their fruits, for a person acting in this way achieves the highest. King Janaka and other royal sages attained perfection through action. You should undertake the assigned actions with the welfare of the world in mind, showing others the necessity of fulfilling their duties. Whatever a great person does is repeated by the crowds. Ordinary people follow the standards set by great people. For me, in the three worlds, there is nothing to be done, for there is nothing I have not acquired and want to acquire. Yet I engage in action because if at any moment I refrain from action out of laziness, people will do the same, following my example. If I did not perform my work, the worlds would be destroyed, and I would cause the mixing of castes and destruction among people." Different levels of knowledge. Lord Krishna continued, "O Arjuna, while the ignorant act being attached to their action, the wise act without attachment, wanting to maintain order in the world. However, he should not disturb the minds of the ignorant attached to actions with his teachings, but should, immersed in yoga, perform his assigned actions to set a good example. All actions are performed by qualities born of material nature, gunas. However, one whose self is deluded by false ego thinks, 'I am the doer.' On the other hand, one who knows the true nature of the distinction between the self and the qualities born of material nature does not attach to action, knowing that it is only his senses engaging in their objects. Those who are deluded by the qualities of nature attach to actions performed by these qualities, but a person of complete knowledge should not disturb those whose knowledge is incomplete with his teachings, which are incomprehensible to them." Freeing oneself from karma. Lord Krishna continued, "O Arjuna, offer me all your actions, perform them for me, and with a mind focused on the Supreme Self, engage in battle free from desires and egotism, having dispelled all the weaknesses of your heart. People who follow my advice with full faith and without doubt diligently liberate themselves from the bonds of action, karma. However, those who question it and do not follow it are devoid of all knowledge and are lost. Even a person of knowledge acts according to his nature. So do all beings, and not much can be achieved by compulsion. Senses stiffen in desire or aversion to their objects, setting a trap for a person. One should not succumb to them, for they are an obstacle on his path to liberation. Even imperfect performance of one's duty is better than perfect performance of another's duty. Death is better after fulfilling one's duty, for adopting another's duty brings fear. Sin resulting from desire. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, what compels a person to sin even when he does not want to, as if he were enslaved by some force?" Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, it is desire, lust, and anger arising from the attribute of nature, which is passion. In this world, they are the greatest enemy. Just as fire is covered by smoke, a mirror by dust, a fetus by the womb, so knowledge is covered by passion. The insatiable fire of desire, which darkens knowledge, is the eternal enemy of the sage. It dwells in the senses, mind, and understanding, and with their help deludes the embodied being, soul, darkening knowledge. O Arjuna, first control your senses and cast out this vile thing, desire, for it destroys the knowledge gained through instruction and meditation. It is said that the senses surpass the body, which without them is inactive. The mind surpasses the senses, intelligence surpasses the mind, but the self surpasses intelligence. Knowing that the self surpasses intelligence, control it with the help of the Supreme Self and kill in your self-desire, this enemy that is hard to conquer. 11th narrative. Krishna describes himself as the original creator of the world and the source of yoga knowledge. Krishna reveals that the system of yoga he imparted to Arjuna originates from him and was properly transmitted to kings before it was forgotten. Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, I first proclaimed this imperishable system of yoga to the sun god Vivasvat, who transmitted it to Manu, and Manu, in turn, conveyed it to King Ikshvaku of the solar dynasty. The royal sages learned it, passing it down from generation to generation. However, due to neglect, this system has become unknown on earth. I have proclaimed it to you again, because you are my devotee and friend and can understand this great mystery." Process and purpose of Krishna's birth on earth. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, you were born later than the sun god Vivasvat. How am I to understand that you first proclaimed this system?" Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, both you and I have had many births. I know them, but you do not. Though I am unborn, my essence is imperishable, and I am the Lord of all living beings, yet placing myself in my nature, I appear on earth through my powers of illusion. Whenever there is a decline of righteousness and a rise of unrighteousness, I manifest myself on earth. I appear through successive eons to protect the righteous and destroy the wicked, and to re-establish righteousness, the authority of law." Recognizing Krishna as the Supreme Personality of God, one who recognizes my divine birth and action in their true nature, upon casting off his body, does not take birth again, but unites with me. Those who have purified themselves in the asceticism of knowledge, free from attachment, fear, and anger, filled with me, seeking refuge in me, reach my state of being. I accept all who reach me, regardless of the forms through which they reach me. People recreate my path in various ways. Krishna as the creator of the world. Lord Krishna continued, "O Arjuna, people who desire the fruit of their actions do not recognize me in my own form, making offerings to the gods who are merely my different parts. For in the world of man, the fruit of action ripens quickly. The division into 4 castes was created by me based on different qualities of material nature and different duties. Though I am its creator, know me as the one who does not act and is indestructible. Action does not stain me in any way, for I do not long for its fruits. One who knows me frees himself from longing for the fruits of work. Knowing this, even in ancient times, people seeking liberation performed actions in this way. Therefore, act as your ancient ancestors did in ancient times." Offering actions to Krishna. What is action and what is non-action? Even a sage is confused about this. I will tell you what action is, and knowing this, you will free yourself from evil. One should understand what action, forbidden action, and non-action are. The path of work is difficult to understand. One who sees inaction in action, freed from karma, and action in inaction is a sage. He has attained what I call devotion, offering all actions to Krishna, being indifferent to their fruits, and has already accomplished all his work. His endeavors are no longer motivated by the desire to gain fruit, and his work is purified from karma by the fire of knowledge. Renouncing attachment to the fruit of action, always content and independent of anything, he does not act, though he engages in action. One who has freed himself from all desires, gained control over his heart and self, renounced all possessions, and performs actions solely with the help of the body, does not incur sin. One who is satisfied with whatever comes by chance, who has risen above the opposites of pain and pleasure, freed from jealousy, indifferent to success and failure, is not enslaved by action, even when he acts. The work of one who has freed himself from attachment, whose mind is focused on knowledge, who considers all his actions as an offering, is purified from material impurities. Seeing in his work only Brahman, he reaches Brahman. For him, Brahman is the offering. Brahman is the oblation poured into the fire of Brahman by Brahman, sacrifice and reaching Brahman. Lord Krishna continued, O Arjuna, some yogis offer sacrifice to the gods, others to the fire of Brahman. Some burn their senses in the fire of self-control, with hearing being the first. Others in the fire of the senses burn sense objects, with sound being the first. Yet others offer the functioning of their senses and life breath, to the fire of yoga through self-control kindled by knowledge. Some offer their wealth, asceticism, meditations, while others, subduing their minds and making strict vows, offer the sacrifice of learning and knowledge. Still others, devoted to the practice of restraining breath, offer the out-breath, prana, to the in-breath, apana, and the in-breath to the out-breath, or by limiting their meals, offer their life breaths to the life breaths. All these know what sacrifice is, and through sacrifice purify themselves from sins. All who feed on the remains of sacrifice, which are like the elixir of immortality, reach eternal Brahman. Even this world is not for the one who does not offer sacrifice, let alone the other world. These and other forms of sacrifice have been described in the Vedas. Know that all of them are born of work, and knowing this, you will achieve liberation. Offering acquired knowledge as a sacrifice stands higher than offering any other fruits of action, for all work has its highest fruit in knowledge. Gain this knowledge through prostration, inquiry, and faithful service. The sages who can see the truth will instruct you in knowledge. After acquiring knowledge, you will not succumb to illusion again, for with it you will see all beings first in the self, and then in me. Even if you are the greatest among all sinners, on the raft of knowledge you will cross all evil. Just as a blazing fire turns its fuel to ashes, so knowledge burns all karma to ashes. On earth, nothing is equal in purity to knowledge. One who has purified himself through yoga will find it in due time in his own self. Knowledge is attained by one who has faith and is absorbed by it, and who has brought his senses under control. After gaining it, he will find eternal and supreme peace. However, the ignorant, who lack faith and whose mind is drowned in doubt, are forever lost. They will find no happiness in this world or the next. O Arjuna, action does not bind one who is devoted to me, has overcome all doubts through knowledge, and has gained self-control. Therefore destroy your doubts born of ignorance, and dwelling in your heart with the sword of knowledge, establish yourself in yoga, take up your bow, and go to battle. 12th narrative. Krishna speaks of reaching Brahman and gaining knowledge through practicing action with devotion, karma yoga. Krishna explains that both renunciation of action and selfless action lead to the same goal, reaching the Supreme Self. Arjuna asked, Krishna, you speak of renouncing all actions and selfless action. Which of these paths is better? Krishna replied, Arjuna, both these paths lead to the liberation of the soul. However, selfless action is better than renunciation of actions. As I have already mentioned, one who acts without desire and aversion is considered a non-acting person because, free from dualities, he easily frees himself from the bonds of action. Only the ignorant consider renunciation of actions and karma yoga different. The wise know that by following one of these paths, they achieve the fruit of both. The goal of those who practice renunciation of actions is the same as those who practice karma yoga. Truly wise people see that they are one and the same. It is difficult to achieve renunciation of actions without yoga. A sage diligent in yoga quickly reaches the Supreme Being. Krishna explains that a person who practices karma yoga is not contaminated by his actions and unites with divinity in his self, seeing that his self does not act. One who has learned to practice karma yoga and has a pure soul, controls himself and his senses, who sees his self in all beings, is not contaminated by actions, even though he performs them. A person united with divinity within himself, who knows the truth, thinks, "I do nothing," because he sees that his senses only come into contact with sense objects. One who acts without attachment, offering his work to the Supreme Lord, is untouchable by sin, just as a lotus leaf is untouchable by water. Yogis, freeing themselves from attachment, perform their actions only with the help of the body, mind, reason, and senses free from desires to purify their souls. A soul devoted to God, renouncing attachment to the fruit of work, attains supreme peace. But one who is not united with divinity is enslaved by desires, attached to the fruits of action, and in the bondage of matter. A soul that controls its material nature, renouncing all actions in the mind, dwells peacefully in its body, neither acting nor causing action. Krishna teaches that it is the material nature responsible for the delusion of action and the effects of action, while the self is only a witness. The Supreme Lord, who does not act himself, did not create in people the sense of authorship of action, nor the connection of action with its fruits. All this was worked out by material nature. The spirit pervading everything does not take on itself either sins or merits. Ignorance darkens knowledge. Therefore, living beings are confused. However, when ignorance is destroyed by knowledge, this knowledge, like the sun, reveals the Supreme. Those who focus their minds on him, having him as their only goal, purify themselves through their knowledge from sins, and reach the place from which there is no return. Sages look with the same eye on a learned Brahmin, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and an outcast of society, for the Supreme dwells in all. Those whose minds have found this unity go beyond the created world and attain what is immutable. Because Brahman is perfect and the same in everyone, they dwell in Brahman. Krishna describes the bliss of dwelling in Brahman achieved by those who have purified their souls through practicing selfless action, karma yoga, and attained the state of devotion. One whose mind does not scatter to other objects, who is free from illusion, who knows Brahman and dwells in Brahman, does not rejoice when gaining something pleasant, and does not grieve when encountering something unpleasant. One whose soul is not attached to external sense objects attains the happiness that lies in the self. By focusing his mind on the contemplation of Brahman, he achieves indestructible bliss. The joy arising from the contact of the senses with sense objects is transient and produces sorrow. A sage never seeks such pleasure. Capable of resisting the disturbance caused by desire and anger before abandoning his body, he remains in contemplation and is happy. One who finds happiness within himself derives joy and light from within himself. That devotee, yogi, who has become one with Brahman, attains divine bliss, Brahmanirvana. Holy persons whose sins have been destroyed, doubts dispelled, minds disciplined, and who derive joy from acting for the good of all beings. Those souls entirely devoted to the pursuit of liberation, who control their senses, mind, and understanding, and who are free from desire, fear, and anger, gain the knowledge of the self and experience divine bliss, both in life and after death. Having cast out all external sense objects from their minds, directing their gaze between the eyebrows, merging out breaths with in-breaths, and passing them through the nostrils, they indeed attain liberation. Recognizing in me the one who accepts all sacrifices and austerities, the Lord of all worlds and the friend of all beings, they attain supreme peace. Story 13. Krishna describes steps to achieving oneness with the Supreme through yoga. Krishna explains that karma yoga, action with devotion, is the first step, followed by meditation and self-contemplation. Krishna said, Arjuna, one becomes a yogi by performing duties without desire for the fruits of actions, not by neglecting rituals and duties. Action with devotion is what we call renunciation, for no one who has not renounced selfish plans can become a true sage. Work is important for the beginner yogi, while for the advanced yogi, peace and meditation become the means to the end. One has attained yoga who is free from attachment to sensual pleasures and desires. A yogi who has mastered his mind remains indifferent to both pain and pleasure. Through one's own mind, one should uplift oneself, not degrade oneself. The mind is both the friend and the enemy of the soul. For one who has mastered his mind, it is a friend, but for one who has not done so, it is an enemy. The self of one who has mastered his mind remains focused on itself and is indifferent to cold, heat, pleasure, and pain, as well as to praise and criticism. The ascetic, who is full of wisdom and knowledge, controls his senses and regards dirt, stones, and gold as the same, has attained yoga. One who is the same towards friends, enemies, neutral people, and the hostile, and towards his relatives, good and evil people, is above all. Krishna describes the technique of mind control and achieving oneness with the Supreme. The sage should constantly practice focusing the mind on the Supreme Self, remaining alone in a secluded place, free from desires and longing. Choosing a clean place for meditation, neither too high nor too low, spreading a cloth, deerskin, and kusa grass on it, and sitting there focusing on one object, controlling the body and senses to purify the soul. Keeping the body, head, and neck straight, with the gaze fixed on the tip of the nose, sitting calmly, free from fear, maintaining purity, with the mind and heart focused on me. Such a yogi attains the peace of ultimate nirvana, which resides in me. Krishna describes the perfect yogi who has attained oneness with the Supreme, samadhi. The yogi who has reached the state where the mind is still through the practice of concentration, seeing the Supreme Self, derives joy from the self. This state, where one finds the highest delight beyond the senses, is grasped only through insight. Having reached this state, the yogi never deviates from the truth and finds nothing greater than this state. Dwelling in it, one remains unshaken even by the greatest sorrow. This detachment from pain is called yoga. It should be practiced with determination and a heart free from fear and desires, the senses subdued by the mind. Peace is achieved step by step, controlling thoughts with patience and steadfastness, focusing the mind on the self. The highest bliss is attained by one whose mind is calm, passion subdued, free from sin, and united with Brahman. Such a person sees the Supreme Self in all beings and all beings in the Supreme Self. Krishna teaches about achieving oneness with the Supreme through doing good deeds. Arjuna asked, "Krishna, you speak of achieving oneness by calming the mind, but my mind is restless. How can I keep it calm? The restless mind is impulsive and difficult to control like the wind." Krishna replied, "Arjuna, you are right that the restless mind is hard to tame, but it can be controlled through systematic practice and detachment. Oneness with the Supreme is hard to attain for one who has not gained self-control, but a persevering yogi achieves it through the right means." Arjuna asked, "Krishna, what happens to one who, though full of faith, cannot control the mind and strays from the path before attaining perfection in yoga? Is he lost and without protection, lost on the path leading to eternity?" Krishna answered, "Arjuna, he is not lost in this world or the next, for no one who does good ever collects evil. He reaches the heavenly realms reserved for the righteous, and after many years is reborn in a family of the righteous and wealthy, or of yogis endowed with spiritual insight. There he regains the knowledge of oneness he possessed in his previous life and strives again for perfection. He continues what he did in the previous life. Even one who merely seeks knowledge of yoga transcends Vedic rules. One who persistently practices yoga after many cycles of birth, purified of sins, will achieve perfection and the highest goal." Arjuna, a yogi, surpasses both the ascetic and the man of knowledge and those who perform rituals. Therefore, be a yogi. And among yogis, the one most united with me is he who worships me with full devotion in his inner self and pays homage to me. Story 14. Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, listen as I explain how practicing yoga with a mind focused on me and seeking refuge in me, you can fully know me, freeing yourself from all doubts. I will fully reveal to you the wisdom gained through spiritual illumination and rational knowledge of the principles of existence. The lower form of my nature, manifested as Prakriti, has 8 components, material energies: earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, understanding, and false ego. Distinct from it is the higher form of my nature, Purusha, which animates material nature and sustains the entire universe. Know me as the eternal seed of what exists. The entire universe, deluded by the 3 qualities of nature, gunas, does not recognize me as standing above them and indestructible. Those who recognize in me the supreme principle that governs all material manifestation, all that is divine, and all sacrifices, they, keeping their minds focused, remember me even at the hour of death." Mahabharata, Bhishma Parva, section 31. Krishna teaches how, by practicing bhakti yoga, to know him as the supreme personality of Godhead, the cause of the universe hidden by the illusion created by material nature. On knowing Krishna through direct illumination by practicing yoga, Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, listen. By practicing yoga with a mind focused on me and seeking refuge in me, you can fully know me, freeing yourself from all doubts. I will fully reveal to you the wisdom gained through spiritual illumination and rational knowledge of the principles of existence. After knowing them, there will be nothing more to know in this world. One man among thousands strives for perfection on the path of yoga, and among those who are steadfast and achieve it, hardly one truly knows me." Knowing Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of the universe, who has both material and spiritual nature, is the highest knowledge surpassing the understanding of the impersonal Brahman. Lord Krishna continued, "O Arjuna, the lower form of my nature, Prakriti, has 8 components, material energies: earth, water, fire, air, space, mind, understanding, and false ego. Distinct from it is the higher form of my nature, Purusha, which animates material nature, by which the entire universe is sustained. Know that all created beings have their source in my dual nature, are the product of the union of matter and spirit. I am the source of both the development and dissolution of everything in the universe. There is nothing that stands above me. Everything created is strung on me like pearls on a string. I permeate everything. I am the taste in waters, the light in the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedas, the sound in space, the courage in man, the aroma in the earth, and in the fire, I am its splendor. In everything that exists, I am life, and in ascetics, I am asceticism. Know me as the eternal seed of all living beings. I am the intelligence of the intelligent, the splendor of the splendid, the strength of the strong, and the desire of those who satisfy it according to the law. The qualities of material nature, gunas, attach the soul to matter and create the illusion preventing recognition of Krishna hidden behind them." Lord Krishna continued, "O Arjuna, all possible states of existence, such as goodness, passion, and inertia, have their source exclusively in me. Yet, although they are in me, I am not in them. They do not affect me. The entire universe, deluded by these 3 states of nature, gunas, does not recognize me who stands above them and is indestructible. This divine illusion of mine, Maya, consisting of these 3 states of material nature, creating and destroying material manifestations, is difficult to overcome. Only those who seek refuge in me transcend it. However, the evildoers, ignorant, fallen low on the human scale, lose their minds under the influence of my illusion, and, having the nature of demons, do not find refuge in me. 4 types of righteous people seek refuge in Krishna. Lord Krishna continued, O Arjuna, 4 types of righteous people worship me: the distressed, the seekers of knowledge, the seekers of wealth, and the wise. The last mentioned, being in constant contact with divinity and devoted solely to me, surpass all, for I am dearer to them than everything, and they are also dear to me. All of them are noble, but the wise truly dwell in my own self. Disciplining their senses and mind, they find refuge in me, being their highest goal. Finally, after many births, they dwell in me, thinking Vasudeva is everything that exists. Such great souls, however, are extremely rare. The pious, deluded by the 3 qualities of material nature and worshipping lesser gods who have their source in Krishna, do not reach him as those who worship him directly. Those whose knowledge is distorted by desire worship lesser deities, performing various rituals limited in their nature. I myself strengthen the faith of each person, regardless of which form of deity they wish to worship. I have ordained that when a person endowed with faith worships a chosen form, they receive from it what they desire. However, the fruits gained by these people of weak insight are transient and perish. Worshippers of lesser deities reach those deities while my devotees reach me. Krishna's personal form is the true form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and only those who are deluded consider him to be a corporeal manifestation of the unmanifested. Lord Krishna said, O Arjuna, those who lack insight regard me as a manifestation of the unmanifested, not knowing my higher, indestructible, animating nature, beyond which there is nothing higher. For them, I remain veiled by my creative power, Yogamaya, and deluded by the qualities born of material nature. They do not recognize me as the unborn and indestructible. I, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, know all living beings that were, are, and will be, but they do not know me, for all living beings at birth fall into delusion, overcome by pairs of opposites born of desire and aversion. Those who worship Krishna, practicing bhakti yoga, after freeing themselves from dualities and uniting with Brahman, recognize in him the supreme principle governing the entire created world. Lord Krishna continued, O Arjuna, those righteous persons of good deeds, free from desire-born ignorance, such as sins, and delusion of pairs of opposites, worship me by steadfastly realizing their vows. Those who directly find refuge in me, striving to free themselves from transience and death, unite with Brahman, who is their own true self, and in whom, dwelling, they are freed from karma. Those who recognize in me the supreme principle governing the entire material manifestation, everything divine and all sacrifices, those who keep their minds focused, remember me even at the hour of death. Story 15. Krishna teaches that all created beings are his expansions returning to him at dissolution, and how through bhakti yoga to unite with him at the hour of death. About what material manifestation is, the divine element, Brahman, self, action, and sacrifice governed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Arjuna said, O Krishna, explain to me what in this body is Brahman, self, and action, what belongs to material manifestation, and what is called divine. Who in this body is the Lord of sacrifices? And how do you become known to those who practice yoga at the moment of death? Lord Krishna said, O Arjuna, Brahman is called the highest self-existent being, which is indestructible. Its eternal nature, way of being, is called the self. Fruit-bearing action is called karma, the creative force in creating and destroying material manifestations. All material manifestation is subject to constant change. The entire universe, being the cosmic form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is permeated by the divine element. I myself dwell in the heart of every incarnate being as the Supreme Self and am the recipient of all sacrifices. The one who, through yoga, has trained his thoughts and habitually focuses them on the Supreme Person will also think of him at the moment of death and reach him. Lord Krishna continued, "O Arjuna, the one who at the moment of death, leaving his body, thinks only of me, reaches my nature. Of this there is no doubt. For the one who sheds his body enters the form of being that he habitually contemplated before and remembered in that last moment. Never forget me and fight. When your mind and understanding are focused solely on me, you will surely reach me at the moment of death. The one who focuses his thoughts mastered through continuous practice on the Supreme Person, not allowing them to stray to other objects, reaches this Supreme Personality of God. The one who, at the moment of death, with a calm mind, devotion, and the power of yoga, directing his life breath between the eyebrows, meditates on this prophet subtler than all that is subtle, older than all that is ancient, who is the ruler of all, whose form is beyond all comprehension, who is in the color of the sun and is beyond all darkness, and on whom everything rests, that person reaches the Supreme Personality of God. I will now describe to you the state that the knowers of the Vedas consider indestructible, to which yogis free from passion, living in celibacy, keeping their strict vows, aspire. With all 9 gates of the body closed, the mind imprisoned in the heart, the life breath placed between the eyebrows, they remain in meditation. Uttering the sacred syllable Om, which is Brahman, and remembering me at the moment of death, they realize the highest goal. For the one who always focuses thought on me, withdrawing his mind from other objects, for the yogi who is united with the Supreme, I am easily accessible. People of great soul, upon reaching me, are not reborn in a place that is transient and filled with sorrow, for they have attained what is most perfect. About the evolution of the universe, creation, maintenance, and destruction, being the expansion of material manifestation from the Supreme Personality of God and its return to him. Lord Krishna continued, "O Arjuna, all worlds starting from the world of Brahma are subject to the cycle of death and rebirth, but this cycle ends where I reside. Those who know that both the day and night of Brahma last for 1,000 eons, they truly know the day and night. With the arrival of the day, everything manifested flows from the unmanifested, and when the night begins, it merges again with the unmanifested. This cycle repeats in endless eternal returns. Know that beyond the unmanifested, another unmanifested eternal being hides, which does not perish even when all other existences are destroyed. This unmanifested is indestructible, and it is the highest. The one who reaches it does not return. This is the place of my abode. He is the Supreme Personality of God, in whom all beings dwell, who pervades everything, and to whom one can reach through unwavering devotion." Moments of time when the soul leaving the body unites with Krishna. Lord Krishna continued, "O Arjuna, listen to when yogis after leaving their bodies return and when they never return to the earth. The paths leading the one who knows the Supreme Brahman, Param Brahman, to the Supreme are fire, light, day, the 2 weeks of the waxing moon, and those 6 months when the sun is on the northern hemisphere. The paths through which my devotee reaches the light of the moon and returns to the earth are smoke, night, the 2 weeks of the waning moon, and those 6 months when the sun is on the southern hemisphere. Knowing these paths, my devotee is not subject to delusion. O Arjuna, always be devoted to me. My devotee goes beyond collecting merits from studying Vedic teachings, making sacrifices, asceticism, and charity, and reaches what is highest and indestructible." Story 16. Krishna teaches the confidential knowledge of the relationship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with the created universe, which is directly grasped only by the devotee of Krishna. Krishna promises to reveal to Arjuna the most confidential knowledge of his relationship with the created world, indicating that the one who contemplates this will gain ultimate illumination. Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, because you do not question my words, I will reveal to you the most secret wisdom supplemented by detailed knowledge of religious doctrine, the acquisition of which will allow you to free yourself from the consequences of done evil. This is the highest knowledge, the greatest secret, and the greatest sanctity grasped through direct experience, being in accordance with the sacred law and bringing immeasurable happiness to the one who has acquired it through the practice of worshiping me. People who do not believe in this way do not reach me and return to the path of mortal life. Krishna's relationship with the created world is a relationship of cause and effect or seed and the plant growing from it, which is unknowable through ordinary senses. Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, the entire universe is permeated by me in my unmanifested form as the seed of the world or its cause. All living beings dwell in me, but I do not dwell in them. They cannot know me with the senses. However, not all living beings dwell in me. Cause and effect, seed and plant are not identical. Note my divine mystery. I myself, being the source of all beings, sustain them all. Although I do not dwell in them, the created world does not affect me. Just as the wind, moving everywhere, always dwells in space, so all living beings are contained in me." How Krishna, remaining unchanged and indifferent, releases from himself the multitude of beings, placing them under the control of material nature, Prakriti, to which they are helpless. Lord Krishna continued, "O Arjuna, at the end of the eon, all living beings hide in my lower nature, from which at the beginning of the new eon, I release them again. Regulating my higher nature with my will, I release the multitude of beings again, who are helpless, being under the control of material nature, Prakriti. These acts of creation do not bind me in any way. I remain unchanged, completely indifferent to them, and in no way attached to them. Material nature, Prakriti, under my supervision, gives birth to all moving and non-moving things, and thus the wheel of the universe turns. Some, seeing Krishna, do not recognize in him the Supreme Personality of Godhead and despise him, but those who recognize him and are devoted to him gain eternal life." Lord Krishna continued, "O Arjuna, the ignorant, deluded, despise me clothed in human form, not knowing my higher existence as the Lord of all beings. Confused, absorbed by their vain hopes and vain actions, deprived of knowledge, they acquire the nature of asuras or rakshasas. However, people of great souls reaching my divine nature know me as the indestructible source of all living beings and worship me with an unshaken mind. Steadfast in fulfilling their strict vows, always devoted to me, they continually praise me, bowing before me. Others worship me through the offering of knowledge, honoring me as the one, as different, as manifold, as turned in various directions, proclaiming that Vasudeva is everything that is. I am the sacrificial offering, the sacrifice offered, and the oblation offered to ancestors. I am the medicine made from herbs, the Vedic hymn, the clarified butter poured into the fire, the sacrificial fire, the offering. I am the father and mother of the entire universe, its oldest ancestor and support. I am the object of knowledge and the one who purifies. I am the syllable Om, Rigveda, Samaveda, and Yajurveda. I am the goal, the sustainer, the Lord, the witness, the place of residence, the refuge and the friend. I am the beginning and end of the universe, its foundation, resting place, and eternal indestructible seed. I give heat as well as initiate and stop the rain. I am immortality and death. I am existence and non-existence." About practicing love for Krishna, Bhakti Yoga, as it is the only way leading to knowing him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes. Krishna continued, "O Arjuna, the knowers of Vedic teachings, who have purified themselves of sins and drink the pressed soma, worship me by means of sacrifice seeking heaven. I fulfill their request, and they reach the holy region of Indra, where they experience divine pleasures. After exhausting their merits, however, they return to the world of mortals. Adhering to Vedic precepts, driven by desires, they do not free themselves from the cycle of birth and death. But those who are my devotees and worship me, meditating solely on me and never cease thinking of me, I endow with eternal bliss. Even those who are devotees of other gods, offering sacrifices to them with faith, offer them to me, but they do it in the wrong way, because they do not know that I am the Lord and recipient of all sacrifices. Not knowing me in my true nature, after reaching heaven, they fall back to earth. Those who offer sacrifices to gods reach the gods. Those who offer sacrifices to ancestors reach the ancestors. Those who offer sacrifices to spirits and ghosts reach the spirits and ghosts. And those who offer sacrifices to me reach me. Whatever they offer to me with devotion, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I accept it as gifts of love and a pure heart. O Arjuna, treat everything you do as an offering to me. Whatever you eat, drink, give, any effort you make, offer it to me. In this way, you will free yourself from both bad and good fruits, being the bonds of action. Acting with a mindset on renouncing the fruits of action, you will be liberated and reach me. I am the same in all living beings, and I favor no one. However, those who worship me with love reach me, and I am also in them. Even if a person acting extremely wickedly worships me with unwavering devotion, he must be regarded as righteous, because he has chosen rightly. Soon he will become a soul of righteousness and gain eternal peace. For no person who seeks refuge in me is lost, even if he is of low birth. Devoted women, Vaishyas, Shudras, achieve the highest goal, and even more so the holy Brahmins and ascetics who are my devotees. O Arjuna, finding yourself in this transient and miserable world, worship me. Focus your mind on me. Be my devotee and worshipper. Bow before me. Having me as your highest goal and practicing the discipline of yoga, you will surely reach me. Story 17. Krishna teaches about his manifestations visible in the splendor that pervades everything. Krishna, who has no beginning, is the source of everything, and all the splendor manifesting in the world comes from him, and the one who knows this remains united with him in bhakti yoga. Lord Krishna said, O Arjuna, listen further to my divine words. I speak them to you considering your welfare, because you listen to me with love. Neither the gods nor the great sages know my beginning, for I, in every possible sense, am the source of both all gods and sages. Those among mortals who know me as the Supreme Lord of all worlds, unborn and without beginning, are free from delusion and all sins. From me alone arise various states of living beings, such as wisdom, knowledge, freedom from delusion, peace, honesty, self-control, pleasure and pain, birth and death, security and fear, compassion, non-violence, tranquility, contentment, asceticism, fame, and infamy. The 7 ancient sages, as well as before them, the 4 Manus have their source in my nature and were born from my mind, and from them derive all the creatures inhabiting this world. The one who truly knows this my splendor and energy is united with me in unwavering yoga. Of this there is no doubt. I am the beginning of everything. From me, all creation emanates. Sages who know this worship me with all their hearts, directing all their thoughts to me and dedicating their entire lives to me. They instruct each other, and praising me unceasingly, they remain content and happy. Those who are always devoted to me and worship me with love, I grant the concentration of mind by which they know me. Guided by compassion, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy the darkness born of ignorance by lighting the lamp of wisdom. Arjuna, being a devotee of Krishna, recognizes in him the supreme personality of Godhead and the source of the entire created universe, and asks him to describe his manifestations, on which he could meditate. Arjuna said, O Krishna, you are the supreme Brahman, the supreme abode, the supreme purifier. You are eternal. You are the supreme personality of Godhead, the first among the gods, unborn and all-pervading. This is what the sages and divine prophets say about you, and you yourself tell me this. Your words convey the truth. Neither gods nor Danavas know your divine person. O supreme person, O source of all beings, O Lord of all beings, O God of gods, O Lord of the world, truly, only you yourself know yourself through yourself. Tell me in detail about your divine manifestations, through which you pervade all worlds, dwell in them and beyond them. How should I think of you to know you? Which of your aspects should I meditate on? Tell me once again in all detail about the wealth of your manifestations, for I cannot get enough of hearing your words, which are for me like the elixir of immortality. Krishna describes the wealth of his manifestations. Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, listen then about my divine manifestations, though only about the most splendid ones, for their wealth is inexhaustible. I am the Supreme Self dwelling in the heart of every living being. I am the beginning, middle, and end of all beings. Among the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Among the celestial bodies, the sun. Among the Maruts, Marichi. And among the stars, the moon. Among the Vedas, I am Samaveda. Among the gods, Indra. Among the senses, the mind. And in living beings, I am consciousness. Among the Rudras, I am Shiva. Among the Yakshas and Rakshasas, Kubera. Among the gods of Vasu, fire. And among the mountains, Meru. Among priests, I am Brihaspati. Among army commanders, Skanda. And among waters, the ocean. Among the great sages, I am Brigu. Among words, the indestructible syllable Om. Among sacrifices, silent meditation. And among immovable beings, the Himalayas. Among trees, I am the fig tree Ashvatha. Among divine sages, Narada. Among Gandharvas, Chitraratha. And among ascetics, Kapila. Among horses, I am the horse Uchai-Shravas, which emerged from the waters during the churning of the ocean. Among elephants, Airavata, and among humans, the king. Among weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, the wish-fulfilling cow Surabi. Among causes of procreation, the god of love. And among serpents, the serpent Vasuki. Among nagas, I am Ananta. Among aquatic creatures, Varuna. Among fathers, Aryaman. And among judges and punishers, I am Yama. Among Daityas, I am Prahlada. Among those who count, I am time. Among predators, the lion. And among birds, Garuda. Among purifiers, I am the wind. Among warriors, Rama. Among fishes, Makara. And among rivers, the Ganges. In creation, I am the beginning, middle, and end among all kinds of knowledge. I am the knowledge of the self, and among debaters, I am the argument. Among all letters, I am the letter A, and among all compounds, I am the dual compound. I am also eternal time and the creator, with a face turned in all directions. I am both death and the beginning of everything to be born, and among beings of the female kind, I am fame, good fortune, speech, memory, intelligence, faithfulness, patience. Among hymns of Samaveda, I am Brihatsama. Among rhythms, I am Gayatri. Among months, Margashirsha. And among seasons, spring. Among cheats, I am the game of dice. Among the splendid, I am splendor. I am victory, effort, and goodness of the good. Among Vrishnis, I am Vasudeva. Among Pandavas, Arjuna. Among sages, Vyasa. And among poets, Ushana. Among punishers, I am the rod. Among those seeking victory, wise politics. Among keepers of secrets, I am silence. And among those who have acquired knowledge, I am wisdom. Krishna is the seed of the created universe and is omnipresent in it, pervading and sustaining it through the expansion of his partial representation as the Supreme Self. O Arjuna, I am the seed of all beings, and among all moving and non-moving beings, there is none that could exist without me. I have listed only examples of my infinite glory, and my divine manifestations do not end with them. What use will you have from further details? All existence adorned with glory, grace, and strength flows from a part of my splendor. It is I who sustain the entire universe, pervading it with only a small part of myself, as the Supreme Self. Story 18. Krishna reveals his cosmic form to Arjuna, showing the entire universe hidden in his body. Arjuna understands that the entire created universe exists through its connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and asks Krishna to reveal himself in his cosmic form. Arjuna said, "O Supreme Person, your words spoken with my welfare in mind have dispelled my delusion. The entire universe exists through its connection with you. I have heard your words about the creation and dissolution of living beings and your indestructible majesty. You are as you say. Show me now your all-pervading divine form, for I long to see it. Show me your indestructible self if you think I am able to see you." Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, no one can see me with human eyes. I will bestow upon you divine vision. Behold my divine power. Look at these hundreds and thousands of my various divine forms of different shades and shapes. Look at the Adityas, Vasus, Rudras, Ashvins, Maruts. Behold these innumerable wonders that have never been seen before. Look at the entire universe of moving and immovable beings and everything else united in my body." Arjuna, by Krishna's grace, sees the entire evolving cosmic cycle as Krishna's cosmic form. Sanjaya continued, speaking to King Dhritarashtra, "O King, the Supreme Lord revealed before Arjuna his highest divine form with many astonishing aspects, with countless mouths, eyes, and heavenly ornaments, holding in his hands all heavenly weapons, dressed in heavenly garments, adorned with heavenly garlands, spreading around heavenly fragrance, infinite, astonishing, of extraordinary splendor, with faces turned in all directions. His splendor was equal to the splendor of 1,000 suns shining in the sky." Arjuna saw the entire universe with its innumerable parts and subparts gathered together in the body of this God of gods. Filled with wonder, with hair standing on end, bowing his head in respect, he said, "O God, in your body, I see all the gods and crowds of different beings, including Brahma sitting on the lotus flower. I also see all the rishis and all the divine serpents. O Lord of the universe, although I see you with countless arms, bellies, mouths, and eyes on every side, I do not see your beginning, middle, or end. O divine form of the cosmos, I see you in your diadem, with a mace and discus, glowing with energy from all sides, so that it is difficult to look at you. You are immeasurable, indestructible, and supreme. You are the ultimate resting place for the entire universe. You are the immortal guardian of the eternal law, Dharma. You are the oldest primal person. O Supreme Lord, I see you without beginning, middle, and end, of infinite power, with countless arms, with the sun and moon in your eyes, with a face like a blazing fire, whose rays consume the entire universe. You fill the space between heaven and earth as well as all directions, and when you appear in this terrifying cosmic form, all three worlds tremble. Crowds of gods enter your body with fear and praise you with folded hands. Crowds of rishis and siddhas pay homage to you, praising you in their hymns. The Rudras, Adityas, Vasus, Sadyas, Ashvins, Maruts, Gandharvas, Yakshas, Asuras, and ancestors look at you with awe. All the worlds along with me tremble with fear, looking at your mighty form with many mouths, eyes, bellies, arms, thighs, feet, and terrifying fangs. O Vishnu, when I look at you reaching up to the heavens, blazing with radiance of various shades, with wide open blazing mouths and great glowing eyes, my entire soul shudders with fear, and I can no longer retain either courage or calmness of mind. O God of gods, be merciful to me, looking at your numerous mouths with terrifying fangs like the devouring fire at the end of the eon. I lose sense of direction and cannot maintain calmness of mind. Arjuna, looking at Krishna's cosmic form, understands that for his relatives gathered on the fields of Kurukshetra, there is no salvation, for they fall victim to the evolution of the cosmos. Arjuna continued, "O Vishnu, I see all the sons of King Dhritarashtra along with the crowd of kings, Bhishma, Drona, Karna, and the great warriors fighting on our side as they enter your terrible mouths and are crushed by your fangs. Just as numerous streams of water flow into the ocean by different paths, so these heroes of the human world rush towards your blazing mouths, being like moths, hastening to the fire for their own death. You destroy all worlds, licking them with the fire of your mouths. With your violent flames, you fill the entire universe, annihilating it with your wild splendor. O God of gods, I bow to you. Be merciful to me. Who are you in this terrifying form? O you who are primordial and oldest, explain to me your action that I see, but do not understand." Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, I am mature time and the destroyer of these worlds, engaged in the destruction of the entire human race. Even without your action, all these warriors arranged against each other in their battle formations will cease to exist. Therefore, arise, take up arms and gain fame, and after destroying the enemy, enjoy a prosperous kingdom. All these warriors have already been slain by me. Therefore, in this battle, be merely my instrument. You can draw your bow with both your right and left hand. Kill Drona, Bhishma, Jayadratha, Karna, and other heroic warriors who have already been condemned to destruction by me. Do not be afraid. Fight. Defeat your enemy in battle." Arjuna, having experienced complete understanding of the law of the cosmos, praises Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but terrified by his cosmic form, asks him to return to his usual human form. Sanjaya continued, "O King, Arjuna, hearing these words and trembling all over his body, bowed before Krishna, and standing before him with folded hands, said with a voice choked with fear, 'O Supreme Person, you are praised by the entire universe. Crowds of Siddhas bow before you, and the Rakshasas scatter in terror in all directions. You are the primordial cause of the universe, and by your power, you surpass even Brahma. O Infinite, O God of gods, O you who are the refugee for the entire universe, O you who are indestructible, O you who are what exists, and what does not exist, and what reaches beyond it, O you who are the first among gods, O you who are the primal person and the supreme abode for the entire universe, O you who are both the knower and the object of knowledge, O you who are the highest goal, O you of infinite form who pervades the entire universe. You are Vayu, Yama, Agni, Varuna, the moon, Prajapati, and the grandfather of the universe, Brahma. I bow to you 1,000 times, and once again bow to you. O you of boundless power and valor, you pervade everything and are everything. O indestructible, forgive me for what I spoke carelessly out of love for you, treating you as my friend. I called you Krishna, Yadava, friend, not knowing your greatness. Forgive me my lack of proper respect during play, rest, or meal, when we were alone or in the company of others. You are the father of all moving and immovable beings. You are the object of their worship and their revered teacher. In the entire universe, there is no one who would be equal to you, much less who would surpass you. O Lord, worthy of love and admiration, I bow to you. I fall flat on the ground before you and ask you for mercy. Forgive my faults as a father forgives his son, a friend forgives a friend, a beloved forgives a beloved. O God of gods, having seen your cosmic form, which no one has seen before, I am delighted, but my mind is lost in fear. Show me your mercy and reveal yourself to me again in your usual form. I want to see you as before, with your head adorned with a diadem, with a mace and discus in hand. O you of 1,000 arms, reveal yourself to me in your four-armed form." Krishna returns to his usual form, explaining to Arjuna that he could see his cosmic form because he is his devotee. Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, by my grace and my own mystical power, I have shown you my highest form, heroic, universal, infinite, and primal, which no one has seen before. You could see it because you are my devotee. Free yourself from fear and clear your mind of the chaos resulting from looking at my terrible form, and without fear, with a joyful heart, look at me in my previous form known to you." Sanjaya continued, "O king, after saying these words, Krishna revealed himself again to Arjuna in his usual gentle form, encouraging him. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, looking at you in your usual human form, my mind calms down and I myself return to my usual nature." Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, my form that you saw is difficult to see. Even the gods have not seen me in this form, for this form cannot be seen through studying the Vedic teachings, asceticism, charity, or sacrifice. In this form, I can only be seen by the one who is devoted to me. O Arjuna, devotion to me is the only way through which one can reach me in this form, the one who does everything for me, for whom I am the highest goal to be attained, who has freed himself from attachment and is free from hostility towards all living beings, reaches me." 19th story. Krishna teaches Arjuna about the practice of devotion, bhakti yoga. Arjuna asks about the best form of devotion. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, explain to me who is better versed in the practice of devotion, those who are continually devoted and worship you in your human form, or those who meditate on the impersonal, unchanging, and unmanifested?" Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, I consider those who focus their mind on me, filled with complete faith, and constantly worship me in my human form as the most devoted. However, those who worship the unchanging and all-pervading, incomprehensible, unmanifested, indifferent, eternal, controlling their senses, gaining indifference to everything around them, and acting for the good of all living beings, also reach me. The path of those whose mind is focused on the unmanifested is, however, more difficult, as it is hard for the embodied soul to find it. But those who offer me all their actions, considering me as the highest goal, worship me, meditate on me with devotion without being distracted by anything else, I quickly liberate them from the ocean of this mortal world. So focus your mind exclusively on me, understand me, for then you will surely dwell in me. If, however, you cannot concentrate your thoughts entirely on me, try to reach me through the practice of concentration. If you cannot do this either, then consider me as your highest goal and offer me all your actions. By performing all actions with me in mind, you will achieve perfection. If you cannot do even this, then seek refuge in the practice of worshiping me, thus mastering your soul and practicing indifference to the fruit of actions. Knowledge is better than practicing concentration. Meditation is better than knowledge, and indifference to the fruit of action is better than meditation and brings immediate peace. Krishna describes the characteristics of his devotees. O Arjuna, the one who does not harbor hatred towards any living being, is friendly and compassionate, free from egoism, vanity, attachment, indifferent to pain and pleasure, forgiving, content, devoted, with a controlled soul persistent in his goal, with heart and mind focused on me, is also dear to me. The one who does not disturb the world and is not disturbed by the world, is free from joy, anger, fear, and anxiety, is also dear to me. The one who is pure, diligent, free from attachment to earthly objects and from a troubled mind, and who has freed himself from actions motivated by seeking the fruit, is also dear to me. The one who is free from joy, aversion, grief, and desire, who has renounced both evil and good and is filled with faith in me, is also dear to me. The one who is the same towards friends and enemies, when worshipped and insulted, in cold and heat, for whom there is no difference between hearing criticism and praise, who is silent and content with everything that befalls him, who remains homeless with a calm mind, and full of faith in me, is dear to me. Krishna summarizes the characteristics of his dearest devotees. O Arjuna, all those who do what I have declared, which leads to immortality, all my devotees filled with faith and seeing in me the highest goal, are dear to me. 20th story. Krishna said, O Arjuna, sages call the body the field, Kshetra, as it is the field of action for the embodied soul, which tries to control material nature to experience the pleasure flowing from the senses, and the one who knows it, observes it, is called the knower of the field, Kshetrayana. Know that I am the knower of the field, its witness in all bodies. Knowledge about the body, matter, and its knower, spirit, I consider true knowledge. On the body, spirit, and true knowledge that liberates the embodied soul from attachment to the qualities born of nature. On the body as the field of action for the soul, and the witness called the knower of the field. Listen then about what the field is, what forms it, what changes it undergoes, and where it comes from, and about who the knower of the field is, and what his power is. All this is sung in various ways by sages, and has found its final formulations in the aphorisms of Brahman, Brahma Sutra. On the material elements and manifestations of life forming the field. O Arjuna, the constituents of the field are the 5 great elements: earth, water, wind, fire, space, false ego, understanding, the unmanifested 3 qualities of material nature, gunas, the 10 senses, 5 senses for acquiring knowledge, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and 5 active senses, speech, legs, hands, anus, genitals. The mind called the inner sense. The 5 sensory objects, smell, taste, form, touch, sound. Symptoms of physical life, desire, aversion, pleasure, pain. Symptoms of subtle life, bodily consciousness, the courage of life, life force. All this has been declared as factors forming the field, Kshetra, and causing its changes. On the process of knowledge that involves liberating the embodied soul from the influence of the field and approaching the Absolute as the knower of the field. O Arjuna, liberation from vanity, honesty, avoiding violence, patience, justice, respect for the teacher, purity of body and mind, consistency, indifference to sensory objects, lack of egoism, perceiving the misery and evil of birth, death, and disease, freedom from attachment, not clinging to a son, house, and everything else, calm heart in the face of what is pleasant and unpleasant, practicing yoga and complete devotion to me without distraction, dwelling in secluded places, disliking crowds, unchanging in recognizing the relationship between individual and supreme self, insight into the ultimate truth. All these, I consider the process leading to true knowledge, and all that is contrary to this, I consider ignorance. On the eternal spirit, Brahman, described as the experiencing subject of the body, though devoid of body, who dwells in all hearts in the form of the Supreme Self. O Arjuna, I will describe to you now what is to be known, and knowing which brings eternal bliss. It is the eternal spirit, Brahman, who dwells in me, who has no beginning, and about whom it is said that it neither exists nor does not exist. It is beyond the dualities of the material world. With its hands and feet everywhere, with eyes, ears, heads, and faces in all directions, it permeates all worlds, surrounding everything. It seems to have the attributes of all senses, yet it has no senses. It is indifferent to everything, yet it maintains everything. It is devoid of all bodily attributes, yet it experiences them. Being both outside and inside all created beings, immovable though moving, it is too subtle for the mind to grasp. It is far, yet near, indivisible, yet dwelling simultaneously in all living beings. It maintains, destroys, and creates all existences. It is the light in all lights, being beyond the reach of darkness. Being knowledge, the object of knowledge and the ultimate truth, it dwells in all hearts. On the eternity of material nature, Prakriti, and the incarnating spirit, Purusha, having their source in Krishna's two natures, who also dwells in every created being as the supreme witness, Supreme Purusha. O Arjuna, I have explained to you what the field, knowledge, and the object of knowledge are. My devotee, knowing this, becomes one with me. Know now that both material nature, Prakriti, being the reservoir of all possible material forms, and the incarnating spirit, individual Purusha, being energies having their source in my lower and higher nature, have no beginning and are eternal, having their source in me. The manifesting nature, Prakriti, is the cause of differentiation in the material world. The Supreme Spirit is the witness of the field, while the embodied soul attaches itself to the qualities of nature, causing varying feelings of joy and pain. O Arjuna, all modifications, material forms, and all qualities, goodness, passion, ignorance, arise from the manifesting material nature, Prakriti. As the sages say, nature, Prakriti, is the cause of all material effects, the instrument and the acting factor, while the embodied soul, individual Purusha, is the cause of experiencing pleasure or pain. Residing in nature, the embodied soul plays with the qualities born of material nature, and its attachment to these qualities is the cause of its rebirth in a good or bad womb. The Supreme Spirit, Supreme Purusha, residing in the body, on the other hand, is said to be the observer, approver, maintainer, being the experiencing subject, the powerful Lord, and the Supreme Soul, Self. On the liberation of the embodied soul from the bondage of the body by gaining true knowledge. O Arjuna, one who has understood what the embodied spirit, individual Purusha, and material nature, Prakriti, are, along with the qualities born of it, will not be reborn, even though he acts according to the stage of life he is in. Some, through meditation, perceive the Supreme Self in the Self. Others practice devotion according to the Sankhya system, while others practice devotion by performing the actions assigned to them. However, even those who, not yet knowing the practices of yoga, listen to what others have to say about it, being devoted to what they have heard, transcend death. Every created being, moving or unmoving, is born from the union of the field with the knower of the field, matter with spirit. Indeed, the one sees truly who perceives the Supreme Lord residing in all living beings, the indestructible in the perishable. Seeing the Lord present everywhere in the same way has true knowledge and has reached the highest goal. Seeing that all actions are performed solely by nature, Prakriti, for the self does not act, sees truly. One who perceives that the manifold forms of living beings have their center in the One, and from him, spread out, reaches Brahman. Since this indestructible and unchanging Supreme Self has neither a beginning nor attributes, therefore, although it dwells in the body, it neither acts nor becomes tainted. Just as the omnipresent ether, by reason of its subtlety, remains untainted, so the self present in every body does not become tainted. Just as one sun illuminates the entire world, so the Lord of the field illuminates the entire field. One who, with the eye of knowledge, perceives the difference between the field and the witness, knower, of the field, and sees the process of the liberation of the embodied soul, individual Purusha, from material nature, Prakriti, reaches the Supreme. 21st story. On the three qualities, states, of nature, binding the soul to the body and transcending them through knowledge. Everything has its beginning in Krishna, who impregnates the primordial matter, Prakriti, with his seed. O Arjuna, listen now to the greatest of all wisdom. The sages who have attained it have achieved the highest perfection in liberating themselves from the bondage of the body. Resorting to this wisdom and acquiring a nature similar to mine, they are not reborn even when the world is recreated and maintain unchanging peace during the universal dissolution. primordial, undifferentiated matter, Prakriti, is my powerful womb. There I place my seed of life, spirit, and from there all beings are born. For each individual form that is born, Prakriti is its womb, and I am the Father who places his seed in it. The soul is bound to the body by three qualities, gunas, born of material nature, Prakriti. O Arjuna, the three different states, qualities, of material nature, gunas, goodness, purity, sattva, passion, energy, rajas, and inertia, darkness, tamas, bind in various ways the eternal embodied being, soul, to the body. Goodness, sattva, born of purity, enlightening and freeing from sinful actions, it binds the embodied soul to the pursuit of happiness and knowledge. Passion, rajas, born of longing and attachment, having desire as its essence, it binds the embodied soul to action for profit. Darkness, inertia, tamas, born of ignorance, deludes the embodied soul, binding it to wandering, idleness, and sleep. Goodness binds the embodied soul to the pursuit of happiness. Passion binds it to action, and inertia, covering knowledge, binds it to wandering. Individual persons are differentiated and ranked according to the dominant qualities born of nature in them. O Arjuna, in a person, all three qualities born of nature are present. However, when passion and inertia are suppressed, goodness predominates. When passion and goodness are suppressed, darkness predominates. When darkness and goodness are suppressed, passion predominates. When the light of knowledge illuminates all the gates of the body, the goodness present in a person strengthens. When passion increases in it, insatiability, activity, undertaking actions, restlessness, and longing increase in it. When inertia increases in it, depression, passivity, wandering, and delusion increase in it. When the embodied soul leaves the body of a person dominated by goodness, it reaches the untainted regions of those who know the Supreme. When it leaves the body of a person dominated by passion, it is reborn among those who are attached to action. And when it leaves the body of a person dominated by inertia, it goes to the womb from which an ignorant will be born. The fruit of goodness is good and untainted. The fruit of passion is suffering, and the fruit of darkness is ignorance. From goodness is born knowledge, from passion insatiability, and from inertia wandering, delusion, and ignorance. Dominated by goodness, they ascend to heaven. Dominated by passion, they remain in the middle, and those who have fallen into ignorance fall down. The soul that transcends the three qualities born of nature frees itself from the influence of matter and reaches Krishna. O Arjuna, when a sage perceives that the acting factor is only the three qualities born of nature, gunas, and knows what transcends them, he reaches my nature. When the embodied being, soul, transcends these three qualities born of the body, it frees itself from birth, death, decrepitude, and misery, and achieves eternal life. The unmoved in meditation yogi and devotee of Krishna is the one who has transcended the qualities born of nature. Arjuna said, "O Krishna, how can one recognize that someone has transcended the three qualities born of nature? How does he behave? How does he transcend them?" Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, the one who remains indifferent to illumination, aversion, and delusion, the three effects of the three qualities of nature, when they appear and does not long for them when they are absent, who sits unmoved like someone unengaged, not disturbed by these qualities, thinking that it is not he who acts, but these qualities born of nature, who, having renounced all efforts, dwells entirely in his own self, and for whom there is no difference between pain and pleasure, a lump of earth, a stone and gold, criticism and praise, honor and dishonor, friend and enemy, that person has transcended the three qualities born of nature. The one who serves me exclusively, offering me his unwavering love, transcends these qualities, becoming Brahman, because I am the place where the immortal, indestructible Brahman, the eternal law, and absolute ecstasy dwell. 22nd story, on the highest knowledge, which is the recognition of the Supreme Person as the cause of the universe and dwelling in all bodies. Krishna describes the cosmic tree of life, which is an inverted reflection of the true tree. O Arjuna, they say that the fig tree, Ashvatha, with roots growing upwards and branches growing downwards, is eternal. Its leaves are the Vedas, and one who knows them has known the Vedas. Its branches extend upwards and downwards, nourished by the qualities born of material nature. Its sprouts are the sensory objects. Its roots spread to the world of man, leading to action. Looking at it from below, one cannot know its form, nor see its beginning, end, or support. Krishna teaches how to know the true form of this tree by reaching the place where the primal person dwells. To know its true form, one must cut this tree viewed from below from its roots with the sword of indifference and seek that place from which there is no return, thinking, I seek refuge in the primal person, the primal man, from whom the entire cosmic process first flowed and eternally emanates. To this eternal place reach those who have freed themselves from pride and delusion, overcome the evil of attachment, continuously meditate on the relationship between the supreme and individual self, freed from lust and dualism of pleasure and pain. This eternal place is not illuminated by the sun, moon, or fire. That place from which there is no return is my highest abode. Individual souls dwelling in bodies are particles of the primal person, Krishna. The immortal particle of my own self, becoming in the world of life the individual soul, attracts to itself the five senses along with the mind as the sixth sense, belonging to material nature. When the embodied soul dresses or abandons the body, it carries the six senses with it, like the wind carries scents. Playing with ears, eyes, touch, taste, smell, and mind, it enjoys all the sensory objects. The embodied soul, which falls victim to delusion by uniting with the qualities born of nature, does not see the Lord dwelling in the body, but the one who looks with the eye of knowledge can perceive him. Sages tirelessly practicing yoga perceive me dwelling in them, but those who lack intelligence and do not control their minds do not see me despite their efforts. Krishna describes the highest knowledge, which is recognizing him as the Supreme Self. O Arjuna, the splendor of the sun that illuminates the whole world, as well as the splendor of fire and the moon, have their source in me. It is I who, entering the earth, sustain the life of all living beings with my vital energy, and becoming the juicy moon, Soma, nourish all herbs. Becoming the vital heat, I reside in the bodies of living beings who breathe, and uniting with their inhalation and exhalation, I digest the four kinds of food, that which is chewed, sucked, licked, and drunk. I reside in the hearts of all. In me is the source of both memory and knowledge, and their loss. It is I who am what is to be known through the Vedas. It is I who am the knower of the Vedas and the author of Vedanta. In the universe there are two types of beings, changeable, which are subject to destruction, and unchangeable, which are indestructible. But apart from them, there is the Supreme Spirit called the Supreme Self, who, being the Eternal Lord, permeates and sustains all three worlds. And because I surpass both all that is changeable, subject to destruction, and that which is unchangeable, indestructible, I am in the world of men and in the Vedas praised as the Supreme Person. The one who, free from delusion, knows me, the Supreme Person, gains the highest knowledge and offers me the highest worship with his whole being. O Arjuna, I have just declared to you the highest knowledge belonging to the greatest secrets. The one who has attained it is endowed with the highest insight and fulfills all his duties without hesitation. 23rd story, on the difference between beings of demonic and divine nature rooted in the demon's rejection of the belief that there is something more than desire. Krishna describes the divine and demonic nature. O Arjuna, fearlessness, purity of heart, perseverance in meditations and seeking knowledge, charity, self-control, sacrifice, asceticism, righteousness, non-violence, honesty, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, dislike of criticizing others, compassion, freedom from envy, gentleness, modesty, vigor, determination, freedom from anxiety, purity, absence of pride and quarrelsomeness, characterize those who were born with a divine nature. Hypocrisy, lack of kindness, pride, vanity, tendency to anger, and ignorance characterize those who were born with a demonic nature. Divine qualities lead to liberation, while demonic ones bind. Do not despair, for you were born with divine qualities. On the demonic nature. Persons of demonic nature do not know what action and renunciation are. Among them, there is neither purity, goodness, nor honesty. They declare that the entire universe is unreal, devoid of a guiding principle and ruling Lord, and arose solely from the union of man and woman driven by desire. Having such a vision of the universe, these beings with a false self, little insight, and violent actions grow into enemies of the universe, leading to its destruction. Nurturing insatiable desires, full of hypocrisy, vanity, and madness, accepting false notions and falling into delusion, they engage in various ungodly practices. Seeing in death the only limitation, and in satisfying their lust their highest goal, they believe that beyond this, there is nothing. In the captivity of false hopes, under the power of lust and anger, they envy others their goods. They think, these goods must belong to me. This wealth I will add to what I already possess. This enemy I have already killed, and soon I will kill others. I am the Lord, and all pleasures are for me. I succeed. I am powerful and happy. I am rich and well-born. Is there anyone in the world who equals me? I will make sacrifices and give gifts so that I can rejoice even more. Being victims of their ignorance, tossed by a multitude of thoughts, entangled in the nets of delusion, longing to acquire the objects of their desire, they plunge deeper and deeper into hell. Arrogant, obstinate, full of pride and intoxicated by wealth, they perform sacrificial rituals with hypocrisy, breaking the sacred principles of the rites. Victims of their vanity, power, pride, lust, and anger, they hate me, dwelling both in their and others' bodies. These godless and cruel ones who hate me, I cast again into the demonic womb. Being born repeatedly from the demonic womb, they repeat their life in delusion, and not reaching me, live in the lowest state. On the three gates ruining the soul. 3 gates ruin the soul leading to hell: desire, anger, and insatiable greed. They must be abandoned. A person who has closed these 3 gates leading to darkness acts for his own good and reaches the highest place, realizing the highest goal. One who neglects the rites and ordinances described in the sacred scriptures and acts solely under the influence of his desire and passion will never achieve perfection, happiness, or realize the highest goal. O Arjuna, the sacred scriptures should be your authority in determining what to do and what not to do, for during your life on earth, you should perform those actions that have been assigned to your caste in the sacred scriptures. 24th story. On the accordance of a person's faith with his nature. Arjuna asks about the influence of nature's qualities on faith and sacrifices. Arjuna said, O Krishna, under the influence of what qualities of nature are those who do not care about the commands of the sacred scriptures and make sacrifices according to their individual faith? Are they driven by goodness, passion, or darkness? Krishna answers about the 3 kinds of faith. O Arjuna, the faith of the embodied soul can be of 3 kinds, depending on what nature it has embodied: good, passionate, or dark. For a person's faith is in accordance with his nature. His nature is as his faith. His faith is as he is. A good man worships gods. a man dominated by passion worships Rakshasas and Yakshas, and one who is controlled by darkness worships spirits and ghosts. Those who practice severe austerities not recommended by the sacred scriptures have fallen victim to hypocrisy and pride, driven by desire and violence, lacking orientation, torturing their bodies and me who dwells in them. They are demonic in their nature. Krishna explains the different kinds of food, sacrifices, austerities, and gifts. Different qualities of nature also determine the type of food one prefers, as well as the types of sacrifices, austerities, and gifts. Types of food. Goodness. Food that lengthens life, increases energy, gives strength, good well-being, joy, and health, is tasty and nutritious. Passion. Food that is bitter, sour, salty, too hot, spicy, dry, burning, causing pain, suffering, and disease. Darkness. Food that is cold, tasteless, foul-smelling, and spoiled, which is dirty and constitutes leftovers. Types of sacrifices. Goodness. A sacrifice in accordance with the commands of the sacred scriptures, performed by people of good nature who do not think about achieving a specific fruit and consider its performance as their duty. Passion. A sacrifice performed with the hope of obtaining a specific fruit or for show and ostentation. Darkness. A sacrifice performed not in accordance with the proper rite, without appropriate faith, food, and proper mantras, without making the proper payments to the Brahmins who conduct it. Austerities. Bodily. Honoring gods, Brahmins, teachers, and wise people, maintaining cleanliness, abstinence, and non-violence. Of speech, truthfulness, avoiding agitation, speaking words accepted and beneficial, reciting Vedic teachings. Of mind, maintaining calm, gentleness, silence, self-control, purity of one's tendencies. Types of gifts. Goodness. A gift offered because it should be offered, given at the right time and to the right person who cannot repay it. Passion. A gift given reluctantly with a thought of repayment or fruit. Darkness. A gift given with disdain at the wrong place and time to an inappropriate person. Krishna on the sacred symbol Tat Sat. Tat Sat is the triple symbol of Brahman. From ancient times it has sanctified Brahmins, the Vedas, and sacrifices. All invocations to Brahman during the giving of gifts, making sacrifices, and practicing austerities begin with the utterance of the syllable Om. Those who seek liberation, not expecting the fruit, also utter Tatet. Sat is uttered to indicate existence and goodness. It is uttered in all auspicious actions. Unchangeableness in making sacrifices, giving gifts, and practicing austerities, as well as acting on their behalf, is also called Sat. The opposite of Sat is any sacrifice, gift, and austerity performed without faith, which does not count in either this life or the afterlife. 25th story. Lord Krishna said, O Arjuna, dedicating all your actions to me in your heart, seeing me as the Supreme Lord, control your mind by concentrating all your thoughts on me. In this way, by my grace, you will overcome all difficulties. However, if out of vanity you do not listen to me, you will bring about your own ruin. Overcome by the delusion of your vanity, you think, I will not fight. Your resolution is in vain, because your nature will bind you. What you do not wish to do due to delusion, you will do against your will, enslaved by your own actions born of your nature. Arjuna said, O indestructible one, my delusion has been dispelled, and by your grace, I have regained my orientation. My doubts have been resolved. I am determined. I will act according to your words. Krishna, summarizing his teachings, explains that true renunciation is the ability to fulfill one's duty, to do what should be done. Arjuna asks about renunciation and relinquishment. Arjuna said, O Krishna, explain to me the true nature of renunciation, sannyasa, and relinquishment, tyaga. Krishna explains the differences. Lord Krishna said, O Arjuna, renunciation is the giving up of actions motivated by desire, while relinquishment is undertaking actions with indifference to their fruits. Some sages argue that actions in themselves are evil and should be abandoned, while others proclaim that one should not abandon sacrifices, charity, and austerity. Listen to my own opinion on this matter. O Arjuna, one should never renounce acts of sacrifice, charity, and austerity, for they purify even the wise. However, they should be performed without attachment and without the desire for fruit. This is my unshakable and final opinion. Renunciation of action that should be performed is improper. The one who renounces performing his duty out of ignorance is under the influence of darkness. The one who renounces performing his duty out of fear of physical pain and anticipated sorrow is under the sway of passion and will not gain the reward that true relinquishment brings. The one who performs his assigned duty without attachment, renouncing all fruits, is under the influence of goodness. A wise person acting under the influence of the quality of goodness, who performs his duty while renouncing the fruits, is free from doubt, has no aversion to unpleasant actions, and is not attached to pleasant actions. Since the embodied soul cannot completely renounce actions, the truly renounced is considered to be one who renounces the fruits of action. Those who have not renounced in this way experience after death the pleasant, unpleasant, or mixed fruit of action, while the truly renounced experience none, having freed themselves from the law of karma. On the 5 factors implementing action, Krishna explains the factors of action. Lord Krishna continued, O Arjuna, listen to the 5 factors necessary for the accomplishment of every action, as taught by Sankhya. These are the place of action, the body, the doer of the action, various instruments, organs of action, various efforts, and providence, fate. Every action of man, whether good or bad, undertaken by his body, speech, or mind, is performed by these 5 factors. Since this is so, the person who considers himself the sole doer of action does not see truly, while the one who is free from the false perception of his self, whose understanding is not tainted, even killing all these people, is not bound by the chains of karma. Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the experiencing subject are the triple impetus for action. The organs, tools of action, action, and the acting factor constitute the triple component of action. On different types of knowledge, action, and doers of action classified according to the qualities of nature. Krishna on knowledge, action, and doers of action. The quality of knowledge, action, and the doer of action depends on the 3 qualities born of nature. Knowledge. Goodness. Knowledge by which one perceives the one eternal being in all things, the indivisibility in the divided. Passion. Knowledge that sees distinct beings in different living entities due to their separation. Darkness. Knowledge that clings to one particular effect, treating it as everything without caring for its cause and without attempting to grasp with the mind what is real. Action. Goodness. Action in accordance with the commands of the sacred scriptures, performed without attachment, without aversion, and without desire by one who does not yearn for its fruit. Passion. Action performed with great effort by someone who wants to obtain the object of his desire or is under the pressure of his false ego. Darkness. Action undertaken under the influence of delusion, without regard for its consequences, loss, pain caused to others, and one's own ability. Doer of action. Goodness, free from attachment, egoism, and doubt, filled with energy and indifferent to both success and failure. Passion, tossed by conflicting feelings, seeking the fruit of action, insatiable, impure, of variable moods. Darkness, does not apply himself to action, confused, obstinate, false, malicious, lazy, dejected, procrastinating. On different types of understanding and perseverance, classified according to the qualities of nature ****. Krishna on understanding and perseverance. O Arjuna, listen now about the types of understanding and perseverance classified according to the qualities of nature. Understanding, goodness, knows what action and inaction are, what should and should not be done, what fear and fearlessness are, what bondage and liberation are. Passion does not recognize good and evil, or what should and should not be done. Darkness considers evil as good and perceives everything in a distorted way. Perseverance, goodness, unwavering perseverance through which, by devotion and concentration, a person controls the activity of his mind, his vital breaths and senses. Passion, perseverance when a person considers the principles of law, pleasure, and gain, seeking the fruit. Darkness, perseverance that does not allow a person to get rid of laziness, fear, sorrow, depression, and delusion. On 3 types of happiness classified according to the qualities of nature. Krishna on 3 types of happiness. O Arjuna, listen now about the 3 types of happiness. Goodness, happiness that at first is like poison, becoming in the end like the nectar of immortality, and which springs from clear understanding of the Supreme Self. Passion, happiness that flows from the contact of the senses with sensory objects, which at first is like the nectar of immortality, becoming in the end like poison. Darkness, happiness that deludes the soul from beginning to end, and which flows from sleeping, laziness, and folly. On the division of duties in society classified according to the qualities of nature. Krishna on the duties of castes. O Arjuna, neither on earth nor in heaven among the gods is there such a being that would be free from the 3 qualities born of nature. The duties assigned to the 4 castes, Brahmins, warriors, commoners, and Shudras, correspond to different qualities born of nature. Brahmins, tranquility, self-control, asceticism, purity, forgiveness, righteousness, knowledge, experience, and faith. Warriors, courage, energy, determination, skill in combat, not fleeing from battle, generosity, wielding power. Commoners, farming, cattle keeping, trade. Shudras, service. On achieving perfection by fulfilling one's own duties. Krishna on perfection through duties. Every person devoted to his own duties attains perfection. Listen to how this happens. By fulfilling his own duties, he worships the Supreme, in whom all beings have their origin and who pervades everything. Performing the duty resulting from one's own nature does not incur sin. It is better, therefore, to perform one's own duty, even imperfectly, than to perfectly carry out another's. One should never refrain from performing the action appropriate to one's own nature, even if it is tainted with evil, for all actions are enveloped in evil, just as fire is enveloped in smoke. The one whose mind is entirely free from attachment, who has mastered his self and freed himself from desire by the path of renunciation, fulfilling his duties with complete indifference to their fruit or result, attains the highest perfection of liberation from karma. On reaching Brahman and Krishna by fulfilling one's duties. Krishna on reaching Brahman. O Arjuna, listen to how one who has attained this kind of perfection, freed himself from karma, reaches Brahman, which is the crown of knowledge. With a pure mind, mastering himself, withdrawing his senses from all sensory objects, rejecting both elation and aversion, he dwells in a secluded place, eating little and restraining his speech, body, and mind. Always inclined towards meditation and concentration, he remains indifferent to everything. Renouncing his false ego, violence, pride, desire, and anger with a tranquil mind, he merges with Brahman. Becoming one with Brahman, at peace, he neither laments nor desires anything. Seeing unity in all beings, he achieves the highest degree of devotion, dedication to me. Through this devotion, he knows me, who I truly am and what my measure is. Truly knowing me, he immediately merges with me, persistently fulfilling his duties, seeking protection in me. By my grace, he attains a place that is eternal and indestructible. On on how Krishna's teachings apply to Arjuna's case. Krishna explains Arjuna's duties. Lord Krishna continued, "O Arjuna, dedicating all your actions to me in your heart, seeing me as the Supreme Lord, control your mind by concentrating all your thoughts on me. In this way, by my grace, you will overcome all difficulties. However, if out of vanity you do not listen to me, you will bring about your own ruin. Overcome by the delusion of your vanity, you think, I will not fight. Your resolution is in vain because your nature will bind you. What you do not wish to do due to delusion, you will do against your will, enslaved by your own actions born of your nature. The Lord resides in the hearts of all beings, causing them to revolve by his own power, as if mounted on a machine made of matter. Seek refuge in him with your entire being. By his grace, you will attain supreme peace and reach a place that is eternal." Krishna reveals to Arjuna the path to liberation. Lord Krishna continued, "O Arjuna, I have imparted to you knowledge that is most confidential. After pondering it, decide for yourself what you will do. Once again, listen to my divine words revealing the deepest of all secrets. Because you are my friend, I will tell you what is beneficial for you. Focus your mind solely on me, be my devotee, offer sacrifices to me, and bow down to me, and then you will reach me. I promise you this because you are dear to me. Abandon all other duties and seek refuge in me alone. Do not yield to despair, for I will free you from all evil. The knowledge I have imparted to you is confidential and should never be passed on to someone who does not practice asceticism, is not my devotee, or speaks ill of me. But the one who teaches this highest secret to those who are devoted to me, thereby offering me his highest worship, will surely reach me. No one can serve me better than he, and no one on earth will be dearer to me than he. Even the one who reflects on this holy conversation between us will be worshipping me by offering me knowledge. Even the one who, with faith and without nitpicking, listens to the recitation of this conversation of ours will be freed from rebirth and will attain the blessed regions of those who perform pious deeds." Arjuna, being a devotee of Krishna, takes up the fight dedicating it to Krishna. Krishna concludes his teachings. Lord Krishna said, "O Arjuna, have you listened to me with a focused mind, not wandering to other subjects? Has your delusion born of ignorance been destroyed?" Arjuna said, "O indestructible one, my delusion has been dispelled, and by your grace I have regained my orientation. My doubts have been resolved. I am determined. I will act according to your words." Sanjaya concludes his report. Concluding his report on the conversation between Krishna and Arjuna, Sanjaya said to the listening blind king Dhritarashtra, "O king, I have told you the conversation between Vasudeva and Arjuna, which is wonderful and holy, and which makes the hair stand on end. By the gift of the seer Vyasa, I have heard this highest secret, which is the doctrine of yoga, from the mouth of Krishna himself, who is the master of yoga. My joy knows no bounds. Where the master of yoga Krishna is, and where the great archer Arjuna is, there is prosperity, victory, greatness, and eternal justice." Conclusion. In summary, the Bhagavadgita is a text that can be read repeatedly, with each reading revealing new layers of wisdom and spiritual guidance. There is no specified number of times one should read the Bhagavad-gita. It all depends on the personal needs, spiritual goals, and life context of the reader. Regular study of this sacred text can bring deep understanding and personal insights that are helpful in leading a conscious and fulfilling life. The Bhagavad-gita offers not only religious teachings, but also universal truths that can serve as a guide in daily challenges and spiritual growth, encouraging a life full of understanding and harmony.